everybody, this is Matthew Movies coming at you with my review of Avengers Age of Ultron, the 2015 superhero movie that is the continuation of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the second of the Avengers movies, and a big letdown in my personal view. I don't hate this movie by any stretch of the imagination. There are elements of it that I really rather enjoy it quite a bit, but I did walk out of the movie theater after seeing this movie feeling quite let down because there was also significant parts of it that I did not care for. I'm going to start speaking off about the Avengers as we know it. First, right off the bat, I'm going to talk about the Black Widow. I absolutely adore the character of Black Widow. I think Scarlett Johansson just knocks it out of the park, and I absolutely love how she's this strong character that, you know, she has all these guys around her, and there's a lot of time there's a little bit of sexual chemistry going on, but she's her own person and she's not relying on anybody, and a lot of times she's the one who's coming in to kind of take care of the situations that her compatriots are incapable of handling. So I really didn't like that so much of her character in this movie was based around this romantic relationship that popped out of absolutely nowhere with the Hulk. I mean, there was no build up to that whatsoever. Prior to this movie, we had just seen her in the Captain America, the Winter Soldier, where there seemed to be some chemistry going between her and Cap. And then all of a sudden this movie starts and it's like she's in love with the Hulk. And it felt, one, out of completely nowhere. Two, I just felt like she should be doing so much more. And yes, there is some revelations about her character in this. And she has a few character moments for sure, but none of them were ones that I thought were worthy of her. And some of the dialogue that she's given, like where she basically says that she's less of a woman because she can't give birth. I mean, you know, that shouldn't have been in there. And just her whole storyline in this, I find very disappointing. It was cool to see the Science Bros back together, the Hulk and Iron Man, but I felt like neither of them were very great in this movie. I just didn't see that much in their storyline. The whole idea of them creating Ultron, I mean, first off, I don't understand why they made Ant-Man relatively quickly after this film, and yet they don't have him involved in the Ultron storyline like they do in the comics. I know it's, you know, a completely different medium, you can change things, but I found that weird that they would create Ultron and then immediately create Ant-Man afterwards, which is just backwards, but whatever, letting that go. I just didn't really find the whole relationship between Tony and Ultron and Bruce and Ultron to be all that compelling. I did think that it was interesting that they had it so that Ultron's basically his personality was based off of Tony Stark. I thought that added a little bit of charm to the movie because it did give Ultron a few interesting moments, but overall I just didn't really think that they gave Bruce or Tony all that much to do. I mean, the only moment that I really cared about Tony in this was there was the hinting of issues between him and Cap, because obviously at the time this movie came out, we knew that they were going to be making a Civil War movie, so that was interesting. But overall, I didn't really think that either of them had that much to do, with the notable exception of the Hulkbuster moment, which, I mean, come on, that was freaking awesome. Having seen the Hulkbuster costume come out of nowhere was just so cool, and to see the Hulk actually, it's somebody going toe to toe with the Hulk, I mean, come on, that was freaking rad. Then you have Captain America and Thor, both of which I thought, again, didn't really have all that much to do. I mean, I did like how Cap was really running things in Sokovia at the end of the movie. I thought that was really cool. And I did not like whatsoever the fact that the Thor just took off halfway through this movie. I thought that was pretty lame. I mean, I know that it's setting up for Thor Ragnarok, and I'm very interested to see where that all goes for sure, but it's still its own movie. So to have him just kind of skip out of there with no real furthering of that storyline in this movie was lame. And to have that whole moment in the lake, setting up everything, I understand that these are interconnected movies and they do that a lot, but I thought that some of the time they handled it really well. And in this case, I did not think that they did. And frankly, all of the other Avengers that we saw in previous films, minus one, I just didn't really care for what they had them doing in this. I mean, they had them basically playing their greatest hits, I thought. And some of them had more to do with it than others. I think Cap was probably, out of the five that I've touched on, the most interesting. But overall, I just didn't love what they did with most of those characters. I would say Cap was pretty decent. Like I said, the whole scene at the end where he's running everything, and just the whole kind of back and forth between him, like with his ability to try to figure out how to save everybody and his unwillingness to abandon anybody. I thought that was pretty interesting, but you know, even still, I didn't think that they had that much to do with him. Now you have the villain of this movie, Ultron. I already touched on the fact that I liked the fact that he was based on Tony because it gave him a little bit of personality. And there's a moment near the end of the film where you have him kind of reflecting on his existence, which I thought was cool. But overall, I didn't love the character. I hated the fact that yet again there was a mindless horde that they brought in to fight the Avengers at the end. I mean, I get it. They're the Avengers. They need to each have somebody to fight. I understand that, but to have it be the mindless horde again, I thought was very, very tedious. And overall, I thought Ultron was. If I was gonna give him a grade for being the villain, it would be like a B-. I thought he was okay, but nothing fantastic. Now, the biggest thing that I did enjoy about this movie, I thought, for the rest of it is gonna be all about the stuff I liked, and the biggest thing I liked was the introduction of some new characters. I thought was awesome. I thought when they brought in the Scarlet Witch, I thought she was really, really great. I loved the way that they set up her character, both emotionally speaking and from the abilities that she had. I thought that was really, really well done. I mean, I did think the only issue I had was in this movie. I felt like her accent work was a little bit iffy. It seemed to drop occasionally, but overall, I thought she did a pretty great job. And I just liked the setup of the character, and I liked how they showed her abilities. I thought Quicksilver was absolutely fantastic. I mean, his kind of back and forth with one of the other Avengers was awesome, and the way they were kind of taunting one another was just fantastic. And I thought he was great. I mean, it was a bit of a hard pill to swallow because having this movie come out right after X-Men: Days of Future Past, which created the version of Quicksilver that just blew me away. It was hard for him to follow up on that, but when you throw that all aside and you just take him on his own merits, I thought they did a very good job. Now, as far as the Avengers that we already knew, the one that they handled by far the best was Hawkeye. I loved how they did what they did with Hawkeye, because in the first movie, that Hawkeye was one of my big disappointments. I didn't feel like they gave him all that much to do, and in this movie, I feel like that is the exact opposite. I love that they introduced a family for him. I love that he had this big kind of rousing moment where he was giving the speech, and he kind of brings up the fact that he's in this fight with all these kind of gods and big green beasts, and he's just a guy with a bow and arrow. I thought that whole thing was just absolutely fantastic, and I loved literally there wasn't a moment with Hawkeye in this movie that I didn't think worked. I thought Vision was really, really great. I loved how they introduced him. I thought that there was a great moment with him too, where you got a good idea of how pure and good of a creature he is. I thought that was great, and a creature, but it's an android, so whatever you want to call it. I thought that was really, really well handled. I will say, when I was watching the movie, I was disappointed with how they used the Infinity Stone to basically create him, because that makes it feel like as if he has basically he's a ticking time bomb, because Thanos is gonna want to take that out of there. And obviously, at the time of the recording of this, we do not know if that happens or not, but it just feels that way to me because he's going to need that stone. And for me, though, the moment in this movie that I like the most by far is the moment at the party where it's just the Avengers all sitting around kind of talking crap about one another and all that kind of stuff, and then when they start trying to lift the hammer, I thought that was fan-freaking-tastic. I loved how you had Tony and Rhodey trying to use their basically their gloves with the fire abilities, trying to get them off. I just love that whole thing, and I loved the detail of when Cap goes up and it starts to move and the worried look on Thor's face. I thought that the touches in that sequence were just fantastic, and it did, to me, it spoke to the fact that Joss Whedon did understand these characters. I just really feel like something went awry here, because there was a lot about this movie in my personal view that didn't work. I don't hate this movie by any stretch of the imagination. I just don't think it's a successful entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It did definitely move things forward, and there's some stuff that came out of it that has worked, but overall, this movie is just not one of the better films. I'd put it on the lower half for sure. So those are my thoughts on Avengers: Age of Ultron. Let me know in the comment section below what you think, if you think I'm giving it too hard of a time, if you think there's more of it to love, more of it to hate, whatever. Other than that, please hit that like button, hit that share button. It makes it much more likely that other people will come check out this video. And speaking of that, if you're new here, please hit subscribe, hit that notification bell, or even if you just haven't done it yet because it'll let you know when I put out a new video. You can come and let me know what you think. Join the conversation. Other than that, have yourself a good day.